Welcome in, everybody, wherever you are, however you may be listening. This is your Wednesday wrap-up. Herb, how you doing today, man?
Man, it's a beautiful morning, man. Always happy to be here.
Absolutely. You know who's not happy to have people there, though, is Jimmy Haslam. He comes out into the press and absolutely buries the decision to have Deshaun there. You don't really hear owners do that, right? GMs sometimes, coaches sometimes, owners really kind of stay out of that type of stuff.
Right.
But for him to come out and say, hey, we took a big swing and missed. And you knew they were trying to get him out of the building anyway because of the way they restructured his contract. The fact that he's not going to be playing this next year anyway. They were essentially just drawing out what they owe him now, and they're moving on. But pretty wild to see a owner come out in the press like that.
Yes. I mean, saying what we all knew, but it's like, yeah, guess what, guys? We sucked. I don't know what we were thinking. This was terrible. Yeah, it's refreshing to get that kind of honesty, but I don't know that if I'm like the GM and all these people, I want the owner coming out and saying, yeah, we sucked at all this stuff. But guess what, man? That was so bad that all the other owners came out and said, hey, man, don't do that. Like, what are you doing? When it happened, you had to know well before this that every single part of this was a terrible idea. Plus, you're the Browns. You probably were going to mess up the quarterback no matter what you did. But what he had going on at the time, too, and the fact that you knew you'd probably miss him for a significant part of the very first year that you got him.
Exactly,
man. And then 230 guaranteed.
Right? And just to illustrate how bad it was, let's just revisit what they gave up. Man. So they got Deshaun and Jerry Jeudy, which, Jerry Judy's decent.
Right. But not rookie Jerry Jeudy. Hadn't been in the league for a while, Jerry Jeudy.
Exactly. But still wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
But, a contributor for sure on any other team. But but then you look at what the Texans got. Kenyon Green, not terrible. Dameon Pierce, okay. Will Anderson, kind of a big pickup there.
I like the kind of. We're trying to make it easier on you guys.
Just a little.
For what you've got for Deshaun so far, Will Anderson makes this a loss. I mean, everything else is just kind of.
Oh, for sure. And then you add Tank Dell in there.
And then there you go.
That's a problem. Stephon Diggs, Jamal Hill. I mean, you're looking at a couple of potential Hall of Fame level guys.
Right.
For a apparently washed Watson.
Yes.
I mean, just the off the field stuff, I wouldn't have been that interested. Like, I thought it was a dumb trade to begin with, but
right.
Just with all of the off the field stuff and knowing you're going to miss him for a whole nother season, and he held out for a season. And I mean, looking at that, how do you give him the best guaranteed contract ever?
Yes. And then restructured in a way to where the first year that he misses doesn't cost him any money. Like, you were trying to bend that is Super Bowl level. Like, we have to get there, right? And not only do we have to get there, it has to be multiple times, and we have to win at least one.
Well, it's the Browns. If you won one, you won one. I mean, let's call it what it is, right? Like, if it was the Ravens, then yes, they'd have to go like back to back, win 3 or 4 to make this make sense. It's the Browns. I mean, getting to the dance is something that's been 40, 50 years. So, I mean, maybe, if they got one, you'd be like, hey, you know what?
That was it.
Got one.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this list of what they gave up and the fact that they gave up 3 firsts.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you're giving up 3 firsts for a guy that you don't know is going to play, hadn't played in a year prior to that.
Yeah.
Like you really don't know what you're getting. So And it's not like I've seen any players that take 2 years off and come back and are awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I mean, and the evidence is fully against you. And I know a lot of those are by injury, but even without that, yeah, you don't. I mean, he'd already, like you said, he'd already sat out a year before this. You couldn't have expected his first year was going to be great, even without suspensions or anything, and that's tough, especially for a quarterback. I feel like that's a real rhythm kind of position of like, okay, let me keep into this sort of thing. I mean, what was it? Was it Le'Veon Bell? Who was the Pittsburgh? Was that Le'Veon Bell who did his sat out for a whole year and then guess what? Was never the same. Yeah. So yeah. And then the more first off, the more first you're giving somebody, you're giving them more bites at the apple to make you look terrible in a trade. You don't have to nail all three of them, but if you nail one or one and a half, hey, I get an Hall of Famer and a solid starter. Now your quarterback has to look even. You know what I mean? It's like what you need from your guy to not make this trade look bad is just exponential. It's just terrible, I mean, like I said, you're the Browns, so
you can't give up that kind of draft capital for sure.
No.
Welcome in.
What's up?
I don't know, man. Like, I mean, but everybody thought it was dumb at the time. So it's not like it was, in retrospect, probably shouldn't have done it. As soon as they did it, you're like, wow, what are they doing?
Yeah. No, that's why I said even the owners all got together and said, okay, we all agree that this is terrible and we're never going to do this again. We're not 230 guaranteed is just
crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And and what a trade for the Texans, because that absolutely turned that franchise around.
For a guy that you no longer wanted, though, that's my favorite part. Like you said earlier, they were ready to let him go anyway. So it's almost like I'm taking my trash out and somebody walks up and goes, hey, man, what's in the bag? I'm like, oh, this old chair that, I had to chop it up for pieces. Like, hey, I'll be $100 for it. I'm like, but I was throwing it. No, right. Okay, 200. Okay. All righty.
Yeah. But you know what? 200 and give me a TV. Like, okay.
All right, you're driving a hard bargain here, but it's almost like you just be quiet and just see what other stuff they're going to throw in.
You realize you're negotiating with yourself, right?
Right. Which is actually another excellent point. Nobody else was willing to give him this. That should tell you something right off the jump that nobody else was jumping for him.
Well, there was one other team that was interested. I forget who it was now. That they basically had to outbid a little bit. But then they went crazy and were like, we're going to give you all the money and you're guaranteed to have it even if you suck. And the other team's like, yeah, you can have it, man. Yeah. Like that sounds dumb.
Yeah. Some of these teams get themselves in trouble when they do that too. Oh, we really got to jump because this is our guy. Like, there'll be other guys. You'll have other chances. I mean,
there's other guys.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And I get the allure if you looked at it from a pure, just football end, right? If you ignore all of the other stuff that is involved with Deshaun. Before the year he sat out, he had an all-pro year.
Right.
And the year before that, he was a Pro Bowl caliber, right? So he was ascending. But then he doesn't play for a year.
Right.
So that there's going to be regression. You're going to move to a different team. So there's going to be that aspect of it too. You're probably going somewhere that doesn't have the defense that, the Texans had started putting together. So, I mean, already you're probably not going to be as good. Then you have all of his off the field stuff where he's going to miss a full another year. I don't know. Pretty wild. I do appreciate that Haslam came out and was just like, yeah, you know what? We're dumb. You guys were right.
Yep. Oh, and in the article, he also even admitted we're still paying for that and trying to dig ourselves out of that hole. That's how bad this has been.
Yeah.
So, and then Baker doing well after you can also not look. I mean, that doesn't look any better either. We could have just kept him and been okay. I mean, better than what we are right now, except we still have all that draft capital too. So,
well, especially when you think about the fact that Baker was the only one that's gotten you to a playoff game in 20 years. Like, I mean,
yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I actually think it was good for Baker to get out of there.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, and not just because it's the Browns. They just, for whatever reason, he had some maturing that needed to happen. And so it ultimately, the path he took, I think worked out well for him. But then it's just the Browns missing on another quarterback.
Yeah.
How long is that jersey now? Like 45 names?
Yeah. And then you got to feel bad that the fact that right after this, they did put together a really good defense, with maybe one of the best defensive players, in the game.
No yeah.
And they continue to look at, had a decent receivers, good running game. They're putting everything together except for this one spot. And that one spot is the one making the most money.
Well, it's also the spot that makes it all go.
Yeah.
Right. Like, if your quarterback can't deliver the ball, I think that's probably the thing that is weird about the Deshaun thing is you figured there would be, a step back in talent, whatever, right? I didn't really expect him to just not be able to throw the ball to a target.
Yes.
Right. Like he had moments where you're like, oh, okay, there we go. He's starting to look like quarterback. And then there's some of the misses that you're just like, who was he throwing to?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that to a fan? Like, I don't really know. Like, what are we doing over here? And
he
then
promised somebody a football before the game. That's why.
Pretty much. And then, you add that with him getting hurt every year now.
Yeah.
He also just doesn't seem like he's that into football. But I guess if you don't have to, if there's no incentive, right? Because you fully earned your contract. So you just be like, yeah, whether I ride the bench or I'm on the field, doesn't really matter. I get the same money either way. Maybe it takes some of that drive out. But for me, if I'm getting 230 mil, like I want to show out and be like, look, I earned that.
Yeah. See, that's my thought on it. Like imagine getting paid for the podcast, that kind of money, and coming in and I'm like this. What's up, Bo? Cool.
You're right.
Good.
Then halfway through, you're just like, yeah, I'm just gonna turn my my camera and my mic off. I'm still logged in though, so I'm here.
I'm still here. Keep my square up on the screen. No.
That's right. Man.
But I do agree. And maybe it's because of the outside view. It doesn't seem like any of this bothers him, at all. You see all the pictures. He's out there shopping and living his best life and kind of whatevering it. So I guess if I had 230 million, I wouldn't worry about it either.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if the, court of public opinion has already decided what they think of you, maybe you don't care. Maybe you're just like, you know what? Everybody thinks I'm a piece of trash anyway. They're right. But,
Sorry, buddy.
So I guess I'll just keep it pushing and go buy stuff because, I mean, I can.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe, I guess. But again, kudos to Haslam for coming out and just being like, hey, you know what? We messed up. We know we messed up. And we're trying to do something about it. I don't know if they can do something about it while they still have the team they have, though.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
Well, they kept Garrett, so.
Yes, they did.
Hope he learns to throw the football, I guess.
Yeah, I like that. I need out of here. I want to compete for a championship. And they're like, what if we give you $40 million a year? And he's like, you know what? Losing's fun.
Yeah. You know what? Boys like Cleveland. It's great. I mean, that's a lot of it
circled on the map. That's where I want to live.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you're gonna lose, 40 million makes it a little more comfortable at home.
It does. Yeah. At what point do people get frustrated though?
Yeah.
You're like a year into this contract. You've already made, $100 million in your career. All of a sudden you're like, yeah, This actually isn't that fun, though.
Yeah. And a lot of these guys, I always look at it like, okay, 40 million, that's a lot of money, no doubt, right?
Sure.
But if somebody was paying you 30 to win, you get to some point where the 10 is not, like you said, if I've already made 100 million, if I drop 10 to go win somewhere else, 15, if I'm making 25, but there's other ways to make up the money too. You'll get better endorsements on a winning team in another city. There's just other avenues that we don't look at. Look, some local car dealership will pay you to come down, give you a couple $100,000, come down, cut a ribbon or do something and whatever. I feel like there's other avenues, but when you're winning, those avenues are better. So,
Well, and even if you're making less, you're having more fun.
Yes.
I mean, having been on winning teams and on losing teams, I can tell you winning is more fun.
Yes. Oh, yes. Look, hey, not even the sports part, having been on good podcasts and bad podcasts, I can tell you the good ones are a lot more fun.
Yes. Oh, man. Yeah, there's definitely been some podcasts where you're sitting there like, what did I sign myself up for?
Yes. The ones where I can check out for a good 5 to 10 minutes and then come back and not miss anything. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yep.
27. Cool. All right. Cool.
Right. Or when the panel is so big, you're just like, yeah, what they all said.
Yeah. That's my favorite part. When somebody goes, yeah, ditto. Everybody else kind of took all the good answers by this point.
Yep.
There were 3 answers and there's 8 of us. So, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's why I try and stay off those shows when they're like, oh, yeah, we got 6 people on the panel. It's like, yeah, cool. You got 5.
Yeah.
I take that back. So if it's a recap show, right, like that's when I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm good. If it's a preview show, you can have a bigger crew because a lot of times there's going to be elements that people might look at a little bit different. But yeah, if it's a recap, there's only ever 2-3 storylines. So if you got 6-8 people, you're just like, yeah, this is like
get lost.
Make some popcorn or something like it.
Yeah.
I realize I'm on the show, but really I'm just watching the show.
Yeah. And inevitably you have to go last on shows like that. So yeah, everyone has stolen every good answer before it gets to you. So yeah, I get it. Yep.
Although watch out if you have to go first and you weren't paying attention. You're like, what was that question again? Like when you've been going last the whole time and they're like, we're going to mix it up for this question here. Just like,
of course you are. I looked stupid before and I look stupider now. They're like, this guy just sucks no matter what he does.
Why you go last? Because you got nothing to say. Yep. Oh, man. So in other news, Peter Schrager leaving NFL Network. And, he's been on there for a decade. The thing that's funny is people are like, oh, why is he leaving and all of this? It's like, I'm guessing people aren't really paying attention. ESPN is trying to buy NFL Network, right?
And you mentioned that last year, right?
Well, no, it was actually the other way around. NFL Network was going to try and buy
ESPN.
Okay. And so ESPN must just be offering way too much money for the TV rights for the NFL to say no. So if they were to sell NFL Network, then ESPN gets a bigger market share of the games again. But the biggest thing is, and this is the element that I think a lot of people are missing as this starts to come together, is if he's leaving NFL Network to go to ESPN, ESPN's trying to buy NFL Network. When you look at companies worldwide, when they buy another company, what happens to like 60% of that staff?
They're gone,
right? Whether you're on shows, management, doesn't matter, right? Like 60% of that talent's going to be gone because they already have a bunch of talent in the building.
Right.
So if you see the writing on the wall that your company is going to get acquired and you wanted to stay in that field, would you leave that company and join the one that's going to buy your company? Sure, because you're ahead of all of the other people that are going to influx into that, right? So you already have your contract, you're already set up, as opposed to I'm coming in with 1,000 other people, hope I keep my job.
Right.
You secure that job first, and then you're like, well, I hope y'all can keep your job because, I signed my contract. So, I think it's an element that people are just kind of missing in this because that's just smart. Like, if you see that this is going to happen, why wouldn't you move before everyone moves?
Yeah. No, I'm not Herb with NFL Network. I'm Herb with ESPN. It's totally different. Different guy, different everything. I've got a contract. Yeah, no, it's definitely smart. And can you blame him? Like, he wants to stay employed and likes what he does. So, yeah, it's definitely going to happen. I missed that part where it had switched around, though, I guess, to what, just because I don't watch a lot. I get more of my news these days from podcasts, I think, than I do from the major networks, just because of some of the programs. But do you think it's a good thing, them acquiring it? Are you looking forward to that?
I mean, NFL Network hasn't been good in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually does kind of make sense. Their broadcasted games wasn't very good.
Right.
It reminded me of the early days of Prime. Right. Which makes absolutely no sense when you think that the NFL just prints money downstairs.
Right.
Why their studio wasn't that good. It's weird.
Yeah.
I feel like they can just write blank checks to people and be like, hey, make us the most state-of-the-art awesomeness you can.
Right.
But
do you feel like they had a built-in audience and they were just like, we're not going to put much effort into this then? Because that just sounds
just
like
mailing it in.
like,
you know what? We got Steve over here with a camcorder. It seems cool.
Yeah.
We realized we broadcast the games on a $500 million camera. And we only have 22 of them out there. But for our studio, we got this Canon that we got off of Craigslist.
Herb's holding a Canon from Craigslist. Bo's using his iPhone. That's how we're going to film this whole thing. So
that's right.
We're good. We get all the angles. Bo, run around the other side.
Wait, bring that mag light. It's a little dark in here. It's so I mean, it makes sense that it's kind of going the other way. I thought it was going the network buying ESPN because they would get their facilities and all of that.
Right.
I thought that's the direction it was going. Again, just because the NFL, if they want to buy anything, they can. Right. I mean, most profitable nonprofit you've ever seen.
Right.
So,
no matter how many people say, hey, we're boycotting or we're doing this, like the NFL's making boatloads of money. Yeah. And we're headed towards $60 and $70 million a year contracts pretty soon for certain positions. So, yeah.
I mean, we're already at 60, right? That's Dak. Yeah. It also makes you wonder if, because of all the different ways you can watch a game now, it makes you wonder if there was any regulatory stuff that was coming into play if they were to have bought ESPN.
Oh yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah.
Because then all of a sudden, like, local games are on Fox and NBC and all of that. But when it comes to the rest of the games, they're all on ESPN and NFL Network. And so if you start to corner the market a little bit, it makes you wonder if there was any kind of stipulation coming in from the government end of it. Like, hey, you guys kind of can't
do all this that you're trying to do. Yeah. And they're like, oh man, we almost had it. So
that's purely speculation though. I don't know.
Yeah. If Bo disappears next week, that'll be our confirmation.
Who took you? I don't know, but the bag was scratchy.
Yeah. All right. Next week, it might just be the Wednesday wrap up with Herb. Bo. Bo will be on Unsolved Mysteries.
Bo got wrapped up. And again, here in the NFL, we do have some new rules that were passed. The overtime rule that, I think everybody knew that was going to be a slam dunk rule to go through. Both teams get to possess the ball, full 15-minute quarter. So you can't have, I called it the KC rule because they got that overtime game where they used 9 of the 10 minutes.
Yep.
And so with this one, everybody gets to touch the ball and 15-minute quarter. So you could have 2 sustained drives and actually make something of it. So I liked that rule went through. I don't think anybody thought that one wouldn't.
Right. And it didn't make it easy. I guess the other part was they didn't want all these super long overtime, but there was 16 overtime games last year, so a little less of average of one a week. It's not like every other game was going into overtime and they were taxing everybody. So same league that's like, hey, let's add an extra game is like, but let's shorten overtime. Let's protect their body. Like, no, this was the right move.
Exactly.
Give everybody a chance to touch it. Nobody, unless it was your team winning, you hated those. And it always seems like it was Kansas City that was on the right side of,
every time.
I know these stats are wrong, but if you told me there were 16, I'd have been like, oh, KC won 8 of those, right? That's just how it feels.
No, I mean, for real, though, that is absolutely a thing. And football is different than, other sports. Like when baseball goes into extra innings, you're just like, man, this has been a long game.
Yeah.
Right? When football does, you're like, so some more wings then? Right?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
Like
you're ready for that whole experience anyway. So nobody ever complains about extra football. So
yeah.
I don't know why they thought that was a thing in the first place. But I the first time I really know, because I didn't pay attention to the rules changes, I think really before I was ever doing kind of podcast stuff. Mm-hmm. And so the first time I saw 10, I was like, dang, this is a quick overtime. Like, what are we doing? You're almost guaranteeing every time, hey, the coin flip is the most important part.
Yes.
Of overtime.
Especially when it was sudden death, right?
Yeah.
When it was sudden death, like, all you had to do was get a field goal.
Yeah.
So you're just like, you give me the ball every time.
Yeah. You send out some guy who's really good at predicting coin flips all of a sudden. Like, here's our third string kicker.
Our overtime captain.
Yeah. You're like, who? What? So I don't know. But if you flip that around, if you ever told the NFL, hey, for all your games, the team that wins the coin flip is going to win 90% of them, they would change something. But in overtime, they were just fine with that. But can you imagine watching a football game, the very first coin flip happens, whoever gets it correctly is going to win? You're like, well, this sport sucks.
I mean, you just wouldn't watch, right?
Yeah.
Like, the coin flip, they're like, heads, oh, they got it, cool. I can go to bed now.
Yeah. So I feel like you said it was a slam dunk and it was a change that had to be made. So,
yeah.
And again, in the huge scheme of things, it's not like we're having as many overtime games as we think. So it'll be fun.
I mean, like you said, there's like one a week at most.
Yeah.
Averaged out.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I always thought it was dumb that it was a shorter period anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, just make it another quarter.
Yeah. That seems like the easy fix. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no reason for it to be short. And as soon as they're like, well, both teams need to possess the ball, it's like, okay, well, then make whatever the score is not matter, right?
Yeah.
Like if both teams are going to get it, let both teams get it.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. This was easy.
Expanded replay passed. And the benefit to that is you can take a look at penalties. So you might be able to reverse a phantom face mask or, stuff like that, or get one that was blatant, like when Darnold's helmet almost got ripped off his head and somehow there wasn't a flag on that. So the expanded replay, I think, can be helpful. So I wasn't mad that one came through, just because it's going to allow you to take a look at some of the, roughing the passer calls that can absolutely hurt other teams.
Right. So
I don't mind that that's in there. We'll see what that looks like in practice, though.
Yeah, that was my thing. Like with the face masks, those are challengeable calls. Like you have to go through, or they'll just whistle down and say, like they do on some of the plays now, and say, hey, you missed something. Because I'm also reading where they said you can't call penalty on plays missed by officials on the field. So does somebody have to challenge the face mask part? That's what I don't see.
So that's the thing. And what you're probably seeing right now is the verbiage is a little vague.
Yeah.
And so I'm guessing that they put it through as the expanded replay, and then they're probably still working out the details of exactly what that means.
Okay.
And they're probably not going to know exactly until the season starts too. Like they're probably going to have to play with this a little bit during preseason. Excuse me. Just to see how it works and how it disrupts the flow of the game, stuff like that. So, I mean, I would imagine that all the details aren't worked out, but yeah, everything I read on it was extraordinarily vague.
Okay.
They're just like, oh yeah, it's going to be this. And you're like, okay, well, like, but how? And they're just like, that's all. You're like, oh, okay, cool.
the press conference were like, we're not taking any questions at this time, but I got a lot of questions. Yeah, sorry.
Well, especially because they come out with something that like invokes questions. They're like, well, what do you guys think? And they're like, well, what about this? I'm like, yeah, we're not answering that though.
No. Like, no. We just want to know yes or no. Do you like it? But that's okay. Based on this, I have no idea because I would hate it to turn into a thing. Yeah, I would hate it to turn into a thing where, you know, every single play they think there might have been a face mask on, we're pausing the game and going for it, you know, so versus like you said with the Darnold one, that should have been a whistle down. I mean, plays already stopped. It was a safety, you know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's one where they could clearly go, hey, face mask, reverse that and make it quick. Versus we think there was one on this play.
And that's exactly where I'm curious how this works, because if there wasn't a penalty on the field, which there wasn't, then does that still stay not a penalty? Because in that scenario, then the expanded replay doesn't really matter that much.
Right.
I mean, because you're not correcting missed calls. You're just correcting ones that may have been thrown that shouldn't be.
Right.
So, I mean, that gets you halfway there. And the thing is like a play like that one, that's where the eye in the sky comes in.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you already have the sky cameras. You already have that extra ref that's watching anyway. Like he's not part of the game yet, but you know, he's already watching. It's pretty easy to see, hey, that crew missed that play.
Yeah.
Or like one of those, you know, pass interference calls from KC that didn't get called. Right. Where you're just like, I mean, that was like he threw Atlanta's receiver to the ground. Like, I feel like maybe that was pass interference. So, I mean, if you're not correcting those things, then I think maybe, you know, the rule probably hasn't gone quite far enough. Because, you know, with the first down marker being by the chip in the ball and, you know, similar to what the UFL is doing, you have all these cameras, right? I mean, they broadcast 22. You know, they have a couple more. They don't.
Yep.
So, I mean, you have all these different angles. It seems like you should be able to get some of these like blatant calls corrected. Like if it's a ticky-tack close thing, leave it alone.
Yeah.
But like if you're spinning someone's helmet backwards, I'm going to go with you probably grabbed a hold of that face mask.
Yeah.
They don't.
The odds are in your favor. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's even because the Darnold one is one of the biggest examples of it. We review all scoring plays anyway. Technically, that's a scoring play. That should just already fall under another purview anyway. Like, hey, that's something we should look at because it calls points on the board. And it's like we're not even like you just said. That was a perfect point. We don't want you to clean up the ticky-tack ones. That's fine. But the blatant ones, the ones that take 2 seconds, like how long did it take anybody to figure out there was a face mask? Like you said,
everybody face mask, real time.
You know, so. Clean those up. The game, you won't have a long stoppage in play. You'll clean up a major play in the game and a scoring play, and you'll be fine. Yeah, the rest of them, you know, it's whatever. And don't get me started on trying to track if it's a first down or not. I still don't get. Josh Allen is still probably somewhere arguing. Okay, how do you miss by that much on a play like that?
So the third down play for sure, right? The fourth down play, legitimately. Yeah, that could have gone either way. You couldn't really see, but the third down play, he got it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, but I think that's where the chip in the ball is really what really pushed it over the edge to get that in there because it works well in the UFL. Yeah. So, you know, if you have the chip in the ball, you'll be able to see exactly how far forward it got and everything. So, I mean, it's dog, stop. But so, I mean, it's just kind of some of those things really pushed it forward. Right. So I like that that's where they're going with it. The chain gang's still going to be out there, right? Because it's not going to be perfect. Sometimes the chip's going to get dislodged or it's going to stop, you know, broadcasting or whatever. I mean, you know,
conveniently in certain games. Is that what you're saying?
100%. Yeah. Brought to you
Every
by
other Casey. Well, he looks like he's at the 35, but the chip in the football says he's at the 30, so I guess the Chiefs will get the ball. Don't know how this keeps happening, but it's strange.
The money line at plus 230 is going to hit today.
Oh, man. I can't wait to that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't know. We'll see how that comes together. Speaking of the UFL, it got underway, and ended up with a former Dolphin running back. So if you'd have told Raj that the show was on today,
oh man.
It's
you don't know how much stress I have trying to keep track of this guy every week.
I just like giving him crap. But sets the UFL record. I believe it was a 74 yarder run. I actually had it written down. I leave those notes somewhere too. I'm on fire today. But yeah, so it was, I want to say it was a 74 yarder. But so in his debut game in the UFL.
Yeah, 77-yard touchdown.
77.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. We're starting to see, it looks like maybe the quality of the gameplay is starting to elevate a little bit. They're getting a little more of the NFL guys dropping down into that. And you kind of assumed that some of that stuff would happen, right? But now we're starting to see the quality of the game get better, which makes you think that next year, where they were talking about, expanding a couple of teams, that, it could potentially actually happen.
Yeah. I like it. I still maintain, I guess until I start seeing a little bit more of it, that going in person is a good experience if you have a UFL team near you. Yep. So I'll have to check out some more broadcasts just to be fair. But it wasn't a bad experience in person. And the way they kind of shape it to where all the fans have to be on the same side, I think kind of makes better fan experience too as well. But I think, like you said.
So do you think they did that? What's up, Raj? I tried to give your Dolphins some credit, kind of, and but you missed it. But yeah, no. So do you think they have them all on that side just because they haven't sold enough tickets to fill the bottom hole? I mean,
definitely. Yeah. If you see when they're all packed in there, if they let them spread out, you'd have like one person a section. It would look really bad. Not even just for your home field advantage because everybody's kind of on together, but like you said, the way it looks on TV too as well. So no, it absolutely for those purposes, and they're pretty strict about it, man. There'll always be one random person who tries to go sit like on the end zone on the wrong side, and there's a guy standing there, hey, go that way. So no, definitely for that purposes. And I can also mention this. Last year, I had a complaint that the Birmingham Stallions had a game on the same day as the 8A game. And now I see that they've moved it to Friday instead of Saturday. Subtle changes like that just kind of maybe that was totally by accident, but I feel like they're paying more attention. Like, look, some people might still come to town.
In general, actually. They're like, oh, you know what? He's on to something.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's just an easy fix. Hey, don't play. If you're going to a college town, if you're in Birmingham, Tuscaloosa is 50 minutes to an hour away. Don't, go up against that. But hey, if I do on Friday night, I get a chance to take advantage of people being in town, for the 8A game. Then, of course, they changed the 8A format, so I don't know how much traffic you get, but at least it shows that they were trying. Like, okay, we're going to try to take advantage of that crowd and not go up against them like we did last year. So kudos to them, for sure.
Yep. And what happened was a former Dolphin running back set the UFL rushing, single play record, 77 yards. So there you go.
I'm a little disappointed. There's no, hey guys, I just got here because Herb told me the show started at 8:41. Like
he said it moved to Thursday. Like, I don't know.
I'm just disappointed, Raj. Like you're not on your game this morning at all.
Oh man. So, sticking with football before we move on, the GM and ownership of the Jets, who routinely do stuff well, said they are not extending Sauce and Garrett Wilson before the draft, which is interesting because both those guys are Pro Bowl, All-Pro caliber guys.
Right.
Why wouldn't you just pick up their fifth option now?
Yes.
You're going to.
Yes.
Like, what benefit do you have waiting till after the draft other than just trying to make your team mad?
Right. And
because,
have we not?
Man, I don't know.
Every team that waits runs into trouble one way or another. Just do it on the ones like you said. And Garrett Wilson's like your only wide receiver at this point.
He's the only one on the roster, right? I mean, Lazard is technically there, but
right. So teams just, I guess it kind of goes to a bigger thing, like you mentioned with the Browns. Why is it certain teams just make bad decisions and then you're just like stuck in those bad decisions? No matter what happens, you expect, like if you had told me, like Kansas City was doing this or like Pittsburgh was, I'd be like, really? But when you tell me the Jets are doing it, I'm like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense because they're the Jets. And these are the things that they do to players that they're absolutely keeping, cannot afford to let just walk out the door, pick up the easy option, So I don't.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you look at the Jets or the Browns or, I mean, the Bengals kind of is when you're looking at like the Browns, oh yeah, you got a top 2, top 3 defense. Immediately they're like, oh, I mean, how far did they make it in the playoffs? Oh yeah, no, they didn't do that.
No.
or the Bengals, right? Like you're like, oh yeah, quarterback, MVP conversation, over 4,000 yards, Triple Crown winner, receiver. Oh, cool. Like they went deep in the playoffs, right? Yeah, no, they missed. Yeah,
they missed. Yeah, you're like what? Yeah, well, I mean, they're still the Bengals. I mean, what'd you expect? Oh, makes sense. Yeah.
Or the Jets, top 5 defense. You have Devontae and Garrett Wilson and, some nice pieces on the defense. And, you got Aaron Rodgers. And it's like, oh, yeah. So you guys killed it. Yeah, no, we got 5 wins. Yeah, so that was cool.
Yeah. A couple of them like garbage time wins. So, yeah.
Like the last 2.
Yeah.
Which is funny because they're like, look at his stats. It's like, yeah, because the games didn't matter. Like,
right. Yeah. I could do well in those kind of hey, no pressure. Really? Got this. Going for 300 today.
And the teams you're playing also don't care. It's like, oh, okay, yeah.
That's why I love stats. You can frame them any way you want. Look at this great. What's the context? Who needs context? Yep. Great stats. Don't worry about it. So, yeah. So when you say stuff like that, I'm absolutely not at all surprised that the Jets would pull moves like this. So, like you said, why not just make everybody mad? I feel like half the defense got mad when Saleh was let go anyway, because they kind of regressed after that point. So why not make Sauce a little upset too?
So do you think they regressed because Saleh left, or do you think it's because they lost their DC because their DC was now their head coach?
Right.
They didn't really get someone right? They had a linebacker guy step up to that position. But, I mean, it was Saleh's defense.
Yeah. No, I absolutely think that's why. Losing that continuity. Mm-hmm. And the psychological part of me says, like, hey, the defensive coach got fired. Like, the defense had to suffer for what the offense wasn't doing. And then all of a sudden, it was kind of like, okay, so there's no accountability on that side of the ball, but we're the ones suffering everything and losing our continuity.
40 minutes a game, like
Yeah. So that's dumpster fire. So of course, don't extend to your best players. I think it's a sound strategy. Good job, Jets.
I'm a fan because I'm not a Jets fan, but it's just funny. It's a weird approach because to pick up the 5th option, you just say, yeah, we're going to pick that up. We'll discuss your contract later.
Yeah.
Like that hits completely different to Yeah, well, after the draft, we'll talk about picking up the 5th-year option. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Why don't you just go ahead and trade me then?
Yes. And that was going to be my next point. In a year from now, when both of those guys are trying to get out of here, look back on this moment and think, where did it all go wrong? Well, right there. It was pretty easy. Remember when you made them wait for stuff that they didn't have to wait for? Yeah. Okay. Because it's neither one of those two guys' problems what's happening with your team. You know, they have not been the issue.
And every other team, like if another team walked, or if they walked up to another team rather, and they're just like, hey, you know, would you want sauce? They're like, yeah. Or Garrett Wilson, of course.
Yes. What kind of question is this?
Right. And it wouldn't even matter if it was a team that was loaded with talent. You're just like, oh, I can add in, Pro Bowl / all pro caliber guy. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. At 2 positions where we will fit them in. It does not matter. Hey, you've already got 3 good wide receivers. We'll take Garrett Wilson. It's fine. We'll make it work somehow. So
yeah, we'll run a 4 wide receiver set all the time. Try and stop it.
Yeah, I'm in. So
yeah. No, I don't know. That's just the Jets doing Jets things.
Yeah, Jets gonna Jets.
Yeah. So, do got to talk a little baseball because, well, this is a sports show, not just football. People losing their minds over these torpedo bats is the dumbest shit ever.
I was wondering what side you were going to fall on because I had a buddy call me about it yesterday.
Yeah. So here's the thing. If it was just the Yankees could use it, I would get the outrage.
Right.
This is an approved bat for the league.
Yes.
And there's already 6 or 7 teams using it anyway.
Yes.
So you're mad because the Yankees are just better at hitting the ball than you? Like, what are we mad about? Like, it's a bat everyone can use. It's available to everybody. It's not like they built it in their basement. It's a Louisville Slugger, right? Like it's made for the league. So I don't really get why we're mad. I do find it funny that they're like, oh yeah, it took this, engineer from MIT to figure out that a bigger barrel on the bat hits the ball further. Like, I remember playing wiffle ball. The red bat was easier than the yellow bat. Like, because the red bat was this big around and the yellow bat was that big around.
Yeah. None of this. So obviously I'm not a baseball guy. So when I first hear about it and I'm reading about it, I'm like, oh, this must be revolutionary. I'm like, oh, other teams had already been using it.
Yeah.
Each bat is a little different. They do analyze where you're hitting at it. So my torpedo bat might be a little bit different from yours, but like you said, totally 100% legal. And then your best hitter on the Yankees has said he's not going to use it. So Judge is not using a torpedo bat.
Yeah, and he's already hit like 3 home runs, right? So,
yeah. So you're like, where is the outrage? Because everyone except for your superstars is using one. Every team could do it. Several people just have decided not to. And guess what? Hitting the baseball is still really hard. So it's not like the bat magically attracts to the baseball when it comes in. If you gave me a torpedo bat, I'm still batting 0. Okay. Like it's not some magic elixir for the whole thing. So,
well, and we're also talking about what, 1/4 of an inch?
Yeah. So
3/8 maybe, right? Like, we're not talking about like this thing is now a 5-inch round bat,
right,
which would be hilarious. So let's do some of that. But but yeah, I mean, it's in fact, let's give them a 5-inch barrel aluminum bat. Let's just see if they can put it through the window of a neighboring building.
Yes, I'm down for that. But at the same time, no more rules on what pitchers can do to a baseball before they throw it. So
yes. Yeah, no, it's so ridiculous that people are mad. And the thing that's funny is, so that first game, what they did, they had 7 home runs.
Yeah.
Right.
Against the Brewers, you're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, crazy against the Brewers. But, one of the overlooked pieces is the pitcher that they were blasting was a former Yankee.
So they knew him very well. Yeah.
They knew him really well.
Yep.
And it's just like, if you go and play any sport with your friend, you're going to look like a champ guarding them or pitching against them or whatever, right? Because you play against them all the time. Like, you know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So if you've been playing with a guy for 5 years and then you happen to be playing against him, you're probably going to have decent luck.
Yeah. He didn't just magically come up with extra pitches or different stuff. Like, he's still the same guy. It's why all these teams, like in football, want to start having joint practices with other people. It's like, we want to see something different than what we see every day. Yeah, the defense walks out, we set up, and they're like, all right, this is what they're doing. And they're like, how do you know? We've been practicing against you all spring, all summer. We got you. So, no, we ignore certain circumstances and we pick the stories that we want to pick. And the torpedo bats have become that. I was, like I said, as a non-baseball guy, I was like, oh, is this something they just came up with? Oh, no, teams would use it for years. It kind of takes away from the story. So we're just going to ignore that part.
Well, I
don't
think they've been using them for years. It does sound like this was a newer design for this year. But as far as Major League Baseball. So
right, maybe at lower levels.
So that I'm not sure of. But as far as I know, it has to do with the way that they moved wood in the bat. But
because they go to your sweet spot. Wherever you're hitting the ball at is where they move it to free. So like I say, each person's torpedo bat's supposed to be a little bit different than
so I mean, based on that, it does sound like it's a new design for this year, but still it's just like, okay, so you gave me more bat in the sweet spot. Like, I feel like that just didn't take a scientist to figure out.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, the Cubs were swinging within batting practice last season. I think that's the part I was, but not, like you said, not like widespread, and not each one is a little different because they do describe the Yankees one as a new torpedo bat. So I don't know. It's kind of, I guess the science was always there, but some people like it and some people don't. So unless everybody on the Yankees is using it, then I don't see the outrage part. Some are. And one of the players even says, I think Chisholm was like, part of it's psychological. You just feel better with this bat. I mean, you still got to hit the ball. So I don't get it.
Well, I mean, when you think about baseball, though, like that is a big factor, right? Like when guys are in hitting slumps, like, it's all mental.
Yep.
Because it's not like they just magically stopped seeing the ball, or like all of a sudden it's just them in their head, like, I'm not hitting and whatever, and that just failure begets more failure kind of thing. Streaks are the same way, right? When you get real hot, you're just like, oh man, I'm seeing the ball like a beach ball, and then you're convincing yourself that you're seeing the ball really well, so you do see the ball really well.
What I always say, baseball is a team sport, as a individual sport masquerading as a team sport. Like, you're pretty much on an island out there a lot of times, and so how you feel about it is how the game's going to go. So no, I totally get the mental aspect. So I was always a terrible hitter, so my baseball career was very, very short.
So I could hit. I could get some distance. What I couldn't do is lay off a slider. Because a slider absolutely looks like I'm going to dent cars with it, and then fall away right at the end. And it was just like, man, like, but it looks money the whole way. You're just like, oh, I got this. It looks like a fastball coming in. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, don't go away.
Where are you going? Come back.
And the ball's flying by like, bye. Man. So there was one other thing that I wanted to touch on, but apparently today I'm just not on my A game here.
I'm gonna say, because I got your notes, and
I probably didn't even send you all of them. I was gonna talk about the Final Four, but we're actually kind of out of time. We're at the top of the hour here. Let everybody know where they can find you.
You see on the bottom there, our Twitter handle, Raj_Herb. I usually try to tell Raj the correct times for our shows, which is Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Central Time, streaming every week. And then you can go to the Herb and Raj podcast on YouTube, look us up, and check out all our videos there.
And of course, if you're watching on our YouTube right here, be sure to like and subscribe. Helps us bring our content to you. We are 59 away from hitting that infamous 1,000. So if you could hit that subscribe button, definitely helps us out. If you're on Roku, stay tuned for the next hour. Otherwise, we're going to get out of here. We'll see y'all next week.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows, giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in.